and welcome to Gentle Yoga. This is our fourth class in the series, so we're halfway through. Great job getting here, whether you're here live or you're watching our recording a little bit later. I'm going to come to sit in whatever way feels most comfortable for me this morning, or I might even try to change it up a little bit from what I normally do, just kind of finding a way to sit that's accessible for me. And just for a moment before we get into any breathing, I'm going to ask you to just take hold of your hips and see if you can notice, the pelvis, and actively try to tilt the pelvic bowl forward and back. So you can kind of imagine that the pelvis is a bowl of sorts, right? In the contents of that bowl, you can imagine whatever you want. Maybe it's your favorite beverage, maybe it's a hot chai tea or something, and you want to kind of, through the class, I might use this as a cue to tilt the bowl forward or back, right? So in our seated posture, I'd like you to find a way so that nothing spills out of the front or the back of your pelvic bowl. So all of that, the precious contents of your pelvic bowl, just staying right where it is, really strong, really upright. And then you could even rest your hands on the belly. And as we take an inhale, I'd invite you to send that breath all the way down into the belly and fill up the belly, and even allow that pelvic bowl to soften a little bit. Sometimes we tend to sort of clench this area a lot. So as you inhale, you might just kind of let all of that soften, even though you're in this upright posture and you're working to sit up tall. And then as you exhale, you might kind of squeeze everything in just a little bit. And inhaling and bringing that breath way down deep, and allowing that pelvic bowl to be as full as it possibly can. Well, maybe you don't need the hands on the lap or the hands on the belly anymore. You can transition them to the lap, but still have that awareness of that deep, full breath. Way down deep, allowing that part of the body to kind of let go on the inhalation. And as we exhale, we might squeeze it in a little bit. So as we breathe in, that diaphragm presses down. And as it presses down, all those contents shift down. So we want to create that room by letting go of some of those muscles we tend to hold. I'll just see if you can find one or two more breaths. Breathing. A natural breath, and just observing this part of the body, the hips, the pelvis. Or maybe you are somebody who experiences arthritis or bursitis in the hips. And sitting in one position like this for very long can make your hips a little cranky. If that's you, you can always shift and move, which we will do shortly. All right, let's go ahead and inhale the arms out and up. Exhale the hands to heart center. We'll take 4 more arm salutes, just warming up the shoulders, kind of getting a little range of motion into the shoulders. A student shared with me at the beginning of class, she was feeling a little sore in the shoulders from our planks last week. And so inviting you to kind of juice up the shoulder joint a little bit. We'll take 1 more, right? And then we'll just rub the hands together, roll my wrists. And I'll bring this right arm straight out in front, scoop underneath, draw the arm across the body. Keep that shoulder nice and low. And then you can explore tilting the ear towards one shoulder and the other, and just sort of noticing where you feel more sensation and maybe staying with that side. Taking a big breath and releasing and switching sides. Left arm out in front, scoop underneath, draw the arm across the body. Keep that shoulder nice and low. Maybe the arm is straight. Right, so straightening that arm out, that left arm, and then maybe exploring a little bit of neck movement. The neck and the shoulders go together anatomically. So sometimes when we stretch the shoulder, it can help the neck and vice versa. All right, guys, taking a couple shoulder shrugs. And then maybe we'll interlace the fingers in front of the body. Maybe give a little gold star for showing up for yoga today. And then we'll press the palms away. Give those, that's good, Francois, I like that. Press the knuckles away from the body. Stretch the fingers a little bit. And maybe if you wanted to, you could lift the palms up to kiss the ceiling. And a little bit of side movement here might feel nice as well. Right, so Mary Jo just being just careful with that left arm. Right? Some of us are feeling soreness from the COVID vaccine. And releasing the arms down and crawling forward now. Let's release into our tabletop posture. So finding your tabletop posture and taking a moment to just set that up so that it's firm. Hands are nice and wide. Spread those fingers wide. Grip the mat. That's good. Push the tops of the feet into the earth. If the feet cramp up easily, you can tuck the toes, but exploring kind of bringing a little bit more flexibility into the ankles. I'll begin to move first just the pelvic bowl. So see if you can isolate this movement as we were doing when we were seated. So tipping the pelvic bowl forward, spilling the contents out of the front of the body, and then tipping the pelvic bowl back. I'm not moving my shoulders, I'm not moving my upper spine, and I'm just isolating the pelvis here for a few rounds. And this always feels really good to me when I do it lying on my back, and we'll explore that at the end of our class. Now, if you wanted, it just sort of becomes natural to allow that movement to extend to other parts of the spine. So starting with that pelvic bowl movement, and then allowing other movements to come into the spine naturally, our cat-cow. And seeing if you can just utilize the breath as well. So we're inhaling, sinking the belly, lifting the head and heart, and exhaling and rounding the back and tucking the chin. Maybe you move back and forth 1 or 2 more times at your own pace. And then if there was any other movement you wanted to bring into the body, such as circling the hips. Right, and if your knees get tender, you can always pad up underneath the knees. Good. I'm going to tuck my toes under just for a moment. Sit back on the toes, plug the fingertips into the earth, right? So I'm a little bit lifted here. I'm giving my wrists a break from that pressure, and I'm giving my toes a big stretch. If you wanted to add a lion's breath, you could. And so this is a wonderful way of releasing emotion as we open the mouth and stick out the tongue and make a little roar sound, breathing in. Let's take 2 more lion's breaths. Beautiful, guys. Walk yourself forward. We'll take 1 more stretch here on the knees. We'll stretch that right leg long. Rock forward, rock back, give the toes a little massage. And then I'm going to lift my right heel up and cross that leg over to the left side off of my mat as I look over my left shoulder for the side stretch. We did this last week, and it's, I think, going to end up on my roster because I love the way this feels for me. Breathing into that right side body and releasing back to center, and we'll switch it up. Left leg long, rock forward, rock back. Right, lift that left heel up, cross it over to the right side. Take a peek over the right shoulder. Right, that left toe is down on the earth. Right, bringing that left toe to touch the earth on the right side of the body. So we cross the midline and we're getting a stretch into the left side of the body. Good, releasing to center. We'll explore a child's pose. So if child's pose is a lot on your knees, you can always bring something in between the thighs and calves so that you're not quite as flexed in the knee joint. I like to do this pose with my knees apart and toes touching. And this gives my belly a little more room to move. And it's a little bit better for me with my low back issues. But, you know, the traditional child's pose has the knees together and the forehead resting. And that to me just doesn't feel as accessible. But with this child's pose, we do put a little more pressure into the hip joints. Right? So you just determine what feels best for you, for your body this morning, and see if you can find the breath moving in all of that beautiful surface area of the lungs at the back of the body. The surface area of the lungs, unencumbered by the vital organs. So breathing in to the back body, oxygenating the whole body. Beautiful. And then as you are ready, we'll come up nice and slow. Reset the knees so they're hips width distance apart. And getting ready to move to my downward facing dog, I want to make sure that I'm using the pressure across my hands equally first. And then I'll tuck my toes under and lift my hips. And I'll keep my knees bent to start. And then I'm just going to actively lift my hips a little higher, really lengthen the spine, and then pressing one heel down at a time, walking the dog, right? And maybe you can line up the head with the arms rather than the head being way far down in between the arms, so that the head is a natural extension of the spine. Good, one or two more breaths here. Maybe you find a little stillness, both heels pressing towards the earth. That's good. And Mary Jo just taking it easy here with that arm. Maybe we'll come forward to a really brief high plank. Really brief high plank. I'm going to push the earth away, shoulders over the wrists. You might have to lengthen your stance. That's good, Deb. Big breath in. You got it, Carol. And then slow release down. Maybe the knees come down first. And then I'm going to come all the way down to my belly. Allow the forehead to rest briefly. With the hands framing the rib cage, I'll zip up my legs and get ready to make my way into baby cobra. So I just lift my head and my heart with very little pressure in the hands, squeezing the shoulder blades together, squeezing the elbows together, and tucking the chin, right, as if I were holding a ripe mango between my chin and my chest to lengthen the back of the neck. You might feel this in the low back. See if you can get the glute muscles to work, the upper back to work. Lift a little higher. Big breath in. And then we're coming down, cheek to mat. Let the arms rest at the sides. Maybe bring a little space between the legs. Allow the toes to point out if that feels useful to you. Take a couple breaths where you just surrender entirely. Surrender is one of our niyamas, one of our personal observances, that we can't be pushing all the time. sometimes we just have to let go. Very good. Making your way up. We're just going to turn onto the right side. Cradle the head in the hands. And I'm going to keep my knees bent. You could cradle the head, or you could get a little pillow. I'm going to keep my feet together and just lift my knees. Lift my knee, the top knee. So I'm doing a clamshell. And this is sort of activating this lateral rotation in the hip. I'm on the right side of my body. I've got my knees bent, and I'm lifting this top knee up with the knees staying together. And you can feel the work in that outside of the left glute, right? You might do, a total of 10 of these clamshells. We haven't really done these before in class, but they've just been offered to me as part of my applied anatomy training for the hips, for hip mobility. And I'm sure Vicky is doing these as part of her treatment, for stuff she has going on in her hips. And I can really feel that glute working. Right, so now I'm going to give my quad a little stretch. I'll reach back, grab that top ankle if I can. Maybe it's the pant leg. And then maybe I'll extend the right leg long, and just give myself a little quad stretch here. Top leg. Good, and then releasing and rolling to the belly and rolling onto the other side. So now rolling onto the left side. The knees are bent, cradle the head in the hands. We keep the feet together as we just open the knee to the ceiling and release down. Right, over time, if I'm looking to build strength in this area, I might add a resistance loop that goes around right above my knee. So you can feel how that would, having that resistance there might be helpful for strengthening. And maybe asking yourself that eternal question, am I breathing? That's good, Ted. Taking 1 or 2 more clamshells and then going for that quad stretch. Right? Maybe that left leg extending long, and we're keeping that top knee nice flush with the other knee, lifting the heart and releasing. Good. We'll roll to the belly and push yourself up to your tabletop. Maybe you want to balance on the knees really briefly. Right? Option for down dog, or if you want to just step up, carefully coming and transitioning to our standing pose. Make any arrangements you need for, your camera, if you want to take a sip of water. All right. Coming to my mountain pose with my hands on my hips, I'm just going to explore all the ways that my hip can move, right? So I'm just going to start with just this regular flexion of the hip. And a lot of times we'll do this to kind of warm up. We might do contralateral, opposite arm, opposite leg movement. Take a little march with me in march. Right, so I'm just lifting that leg straight up for flexion of the hip and then releasing down. Good, that's nice, Vicky. And then the other way the hip can move is extension, right? So I'm just gonna kick one leg behind me and release back to my mountain pose, right? And it doesn't have to be very high. In fact, the normal range of motion here is not very far to bring the hip extending behind you like that. One at a time, just moving the hip, moving that leg right straight back behind, right? And if you needed to hold on to a chair, you could always do that. Make sure the chair is not going to go anywhere. Nice. And it's a good balance challenge as well. All right, now I'm just going to move my One leg out to the side, the other leg out to the side. Right, so this is that hip abduction, lifting the hip, opening the hip out to the side. Yeah, that's good, Judy. And I feel the work we did in the clamshells in this pose. Right, and then of course the other way the hip can move is by crossing over the midline of the body. So I might just sweep the leg in front and behind, maybe touch the toe down, kind of make a little edge of a diamond here on my mat. And then I might switch sides. So a little bit of that adduction happening. A little bit harder to do here. Good. And then just because I really love it, just picking up one leg and stepping over your hurdle. And if you like and you're feeling kind of graceful and fun today, you might lift the opposite arm in the opposite direction and get really modern dance with me. Breathing in, breathing out. Slow it down for extra challenge. Yeah, that's it. We're dancing. You said you weren't a dancer, but you're a dancer. All right, guys, let's come back to the top of the mat. I'm going to grab a block and take this block between my thighs. Taking the block between my thighs. And, you know, I might just give the outside of my hips a little massage here, right? See if I can feel the hip points. And then going back from there, that sort of juicy area where I always feel like right next to the sacrum. Just feel like there's a lot of tenderness there. Right, just palpating a little bit around the hips, noticing if you feel any soreness, giving your hips a little love here. And then we'll sink down into a chair. Right, so I'm going to bend my knees. My hips are back. I'm going to keep my hands just on my thighs for a moment, squeeze the block a little bit. Lift all 10 toes if you can. And then maybe press down with just the big toe. Lift all 10 toes, press down with just the pinky toe. Right? You can go back and forth a few times. And maybe the pinky toe doesn't want to really activate. You know, you can manually manipulate that, you know, while you're watching TV sometime. Work the toes. Think of me. Right? Just going back and forth a few more times. And then we'll come up nice and slow. Inhale the arms up. Right, you might grab onto a wrist and stretch in one direction, just a side bend here. Coming back to center, grabbing the other wrist, side bending the other direction. Right, lengthening. Good, releasing back to center. We'll take one more chair. This time we'll sink down deep. Hips are back, weight in the heels. Take a peek down, make sure you can see your toes. So sometimes the knees will come really far forward, bring those knees back. Squeeze that block, lift the arms straight out in front. I was gonna say, you know, say 10 Hail Marys here, right? Or your mantra, right? Repeat your mantra internally for a moment as we work the core and all those muscles around the hips and the glute muscles. That's good. All right, Francois, beautiful. Inhale the arms up. Exhale the hands to heart center. Seal the deal, rub the hands together. Roll the wrists. Release your block and place it to the side. I'm gonna grab onto my strap and I'm gonna take this strap behind my body with the palms facing away, or you could try the palms facing forward. It's totally up to you. My strap is like a little bit wider than shoulder width distance. And that's good, Carol. Nice space between the feet, right? I'm gonna start with a strap on my butt and I'm just gonna kind of pull the strap a little bit. And then I might lift up a little bit more. Lift up a little bit more. Right, I'm nice and tall, that's good now. And just only going as far as feels comfortable. Or maybe like you're working to about You know, not 100% of your range, maybe 75%. That's good, Vicky. Big breath in. Release down. I might take a couple more like that, just a little bit looser, not so much resistance on the strap, more looking for just range of motion. And then I'll release the strap in front. Nice wide V for victory, lots of space between the feet. I'm moving from side to side a few times, like my little sea anemone on the tidal pool floor, reaching for the detritus that flows by in the water. Nice, guys. Let's toss the strap to the ground. All right. I'm going to take hold of my chair for support here. Maybe you have a wall. Maybe you won't need this. I'm looking to do an active quad stretch. So rather than reaching back and grabbing onto the ankle, I'm going to make like I'm going to do that, but I'm not going to grab on. And I'm looking to try to bring my heel as close to my butt as I can. Right? And this is great for strengthening those hamstring muscles. So you can feel the hamstrings work. See how far up you can get that heel towards your butt. And breathe and hold. And if you get any cramping, come out of it. Right? And then we'll release and try the other side. We'll do, 2 on each side. So reaching back as if to grab that leg and really trying to lift that heel up towards the butt. Yeah, you could point and flex the foot a few times, sort of if you're getting any cramping in the foot. And then release. And between the next set, I'm just going to take a little stretch of my hamstrings, kind of using my chair or my wall to get a more upright downward facing dog. Or you could just do a forward fold or whatever feels good here. And then as you're ready, come on back up. We'll try one more on each side. Right? Maybe we start to release a little bit of that weight in the hand. That's good. Look, Ma, no hands. And releasing and switching sides. Other side, trying to get that heel up towards the butt. Right, staying nice and lifted in the torso. Maybe the gaze is a little bit down if you're feeling shaky. And release. And we'll take one more little stretch forward to stretch the hamstrings. Could maybe even reach back and give the hamstrings, that back of the thigh, a little bit of a massage. And then as you're ready, we'll come on up nice and slow. I'm going to take hold of my support and I'm going to go for my active quad stretch now, but I want to show you a way to use the hands that's a little bit different. So I'm going to start to put the weight into my right foot. And I'm going to bring my left hand out to the left, Mama give me money, with the palm facing up. As I lift my left foot up, I'm going to reach back and see if I can grab onto the inside edge of my foot for my quad stretch today. And I've got this chair here, or maybe a wall. This is all we're doing, this nice quad stretch. That's good, Deb. We're going to do the full dancers a little bit later, so save the hip strength. Just looking for the quad stretch now. All right, and releasing back down, we'll switch sides. So weight will come into the left foot. I'll bring my right hand out to the right. Mama, give me money. And then I'm going to reach back and grab onto the inside edge of that foot. So you see my palm is facing away from the body and the thumb is pointed towards the back. Just giving myself a little quad stretch here. Sort of feeling how that would feel. Lifting my hand and keeping my hand on the chair for support. And then we'll release. That's good. Walk back to the top of your mat and we'll try a high lunge. So right foot forward, lots of space between the feet, left foot back. And I'm gonna lift that back heel up off the earth, bending into my right knee. If you feel wobbly, once again, widen the base. Good. And then from here, I'll bring my hands to heart center. And as I inhale, I'm gonna straighten the leg and the arms will rise up. As I exhale, I'm gonna sink down into my lunge, hands coming to heart center. Right? You can really feel this in that left hip. Inhale, lift the arms up, straighten the leg. Good, release into your lunge with the hands at heart center. Let's take one more, right? And so what's really nice about this is that we're moving a little bit. So step to the top of the mat and we'll switch sides. Left foot forward, right foot back. So with osteoarthritis in the hips, sometimes just staying in a standing pose and, statically holding it can be too much pressure. But when we move a little bit, we're getting that synovial fluid to move around the joint. That's what I love too, that dynamic movement. So inhale, straighten the arms, straighten that front leg, nice wide base. Sink down into your high lunge, that back heel lifted. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release, hands to heart center. That's good. Now inhale, lift. Exhale, sink. And I believe we did 4 on the other side, so we got 1 more to go. And then we're taking a slow step up to mountain and walking it out a little bit between sides. In fact, let's come back to the back of the mat and we'll take a balance beam walk. So I start with my feet together. And then I'm gonna place my right heel in front of my left toes. I might keep a little bend to my knees. Maybe the arms come out to the sides like a tightrope walker. And I'm just traveling to the top of my mat with my gaze maybe a little bit down or to the horizon. And if I'm feeling really strong and stable, I might soften the eyes, eye blink, slow eye blink, moving back to the back of the mat. And I wish I could cue the circus music for this. All right, nice job, guys. Take it a nice slow walk back to the middle of your mat. And then we'll come to a wide-legged stance. So bringing some space between the legs. Nice wide stance, getting set up for our warrior 2 with the right foot forward and the left foot angling in just a little bit as we bend into that right knee. Good. And then those hips pointing to that left side of your mat, Mary Jo. Yeah, that's good. And releasing the arms out to the sides. I'm going to flip this front hand and reverse my warrior, straightening that front leg, and then sinking back to my warrior 2. We'll do this a few times. Once again, juicing up the joints. Inhale, reverse. Exhale, sink, warrior 2. Good. Move back and forth at your own pace. Make sure that that right knee is not going far forward of that ankle. Good. And take good care if you're experiencing any discomfort in the hips, because we've already done a lot with the hips. Good. And we'll come back all 10 toes to the side of the mat, switching sides, just switching sides. Left foot pointed to the top or back of the mat, right foot angling in. The hips are pointed to that other side of the mat now. Arms out to the sides, kind of like we're surfing, right? And taking care, if you take a peek down at that left knee to make sure that it's not farther forward. That means you can lengthen your stance, Deb. because you got those long legs. All right, inhale and reverse the warrior, straightening that left leg. Exhale, coming back to warrior two. Do a couple more of these. Inhale, reaching back behind you. Exhale, sink down, warrior two. Breathing in. Oh, feel that good stretch. Breathing out. And we'll just take one more. And then the hands can come to the hips. I might shorten my stance just a little bit, moving into a wide-legged forward fold. Hands sliding down the legs, right? Maybe you stay lifted if you get dizzy easily, have high blood pressure, are caring for your back today. You could keep it a little bend to the knees, maybe reach a little farther down, let the head hang. Right? Just so finding your own version of wide-legged forward fold. Breathing here. And then inhale, slowly making your way up. Walking it out, taking a sip of water, whatever you need. And we'll move into a full dancer's pose here. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure that I have somewhere to rest my hands. You may or may not feel like you need that, and that's okay. You can try it without if you don't have anything nearby that's accessible to you. But it's nice to have this support. So just like we did before, I'm going to put the weight into my right foot. I'll bring my left hand out to the side, Mama, give me money, right? And then I reach back and I grab onto the inside edge of my foot, right? The inside edge of my foot means that the palm is facing away from the body. So Ted, turn that hand around and the thumb is pointed to the back. That's right. And with this, don't you feel a little more opening in the chest? From here, I'm just going to reach forward a little bit, lean forward. And this is why it's so great to have the support in front of you or the wall or whatever. And then I might try lifting this back leg up a little higher. Maybe a little soft bend to this right leg. Right? Maybe I can get up a little higher, or maybe I can begin to take some of that weight out of the supporting hands. Maybe I take a little Jnana Mudra. Good, and then we're slow releasing out. It's a very challenging pose. That's why I really invite you to use the wall, use a chair, so that you can experience this beautiful extension in the hip, which is not something we naturally do a whole lot of in yoga, except for the maybe Warrior One lunges. So let's try the other side. You guys look great today. Weight in the left foot. I'm gonna bring my right arm out to the right. Mama, give me money. Okay, then I'll slowly reach back, see if I can grab onto the inside edge of that foot. That's good, Judy B. Good, Judy S. With my hands resting in front of me, I might reach forward. I might kick that back leg up a little higher. Right, I'm just gonna take care of me if I'm having any hip pain today. And I might slowly begin to take some of that support away. Dancer's pose. Right, normally my chest is pointed a little more forward and I'm back bending a little more. Right, maybe you have that Jnana Mudra. And then slowly releasing, coming back to center. All right, you guys did awesome. I'm giving you a round of applause. Right, even if you're not practicing with me live, I can feel those dancers' poses. You said you weren't a dancer, you are a dancer, my friend. All right, so I'm just gonna take one more little movement here, this hip rotation, kind of rinse out the hips one last time in our standing series. And then I'll be taking my sip of water and getting ready to sit for a few more poses. So coming to transition is one of those moments where I can slow myself down, stagger the feet apart, drop my back knee down, come to balance on both knees for a millisecond, and then release down, all the way down. I'm going to bring my feet, beautiful, into a wide V shape or maybe a narrow V shape, depending on how I'm feeling today. I might need some support to keep myself lifted. If I'm rounding my back a lot here, I will bring my hands behind me so that I can keep a nice straight spine. If I have a little farther to travel, that's good, Deb. I might bring the hands in front of me. Yeah, always an option to kind of grab anything to support this. Sometimes I like to build a little block tower, like for my head to rest, or you could grab a pillow underneath each armpit and kind of hang forward, and then it becomes more of a yin pose, right? But I'm not going to force this. I might just sort of relax into it. And if there's nothing relaxing about this for you, then just stay lifted with the arms behind you. Ted's shaking his head. No, this is not a relaxing pose. And I hear you on that. So this is something we can work towards, right? We can progress towards more of this flexibility here. All right. Taking 2 or 3 more breaths. Right. I want you to feel a little stretch. And then let's go ahead and bring the soles of the feet together. Another one of your favorites, Ted. With the soles of the feet together and the knees drifting apart, I have an opportunity to check in with my feet. So I might give my feet a little massage here. And then I'll bring my legs straight out in front. Kind of shake everything out. I'm going to hug my right knee in. Hug my right knee in. Cross that right foot over the body. Okay, so this might be where you stay. The other option is to lean a little bit to the left, place that left hand down, and swing that left foot underneath. Only if you can sit here with both sit bones rooted should you stay in this posture with this other leg folded underneath. If this feels really uncomfortable for your knees, for example, Barb, you might not want to stay in this, knee flexion. You could have this bottom leg straight. Okay, you're going to just twist. We're just twisting to the right side. So I'll start with a nice tall spine, and then I'll go ahead and take my twist to the right. So don't force it, Ted. Keep that bottom leg straight. Taking a peek over that right shoulder, but you see how this does give a little bit of a stretch to the hips as well. So twisting to the right and keeping your breath moving. I'm hugging on to my leg. You might even have the ability to bring this arm in front of the leg, twist a little bit deeper, but don't force that either. Try to keep a tall spine, number 1. And then releasing back to center, a little counter twist on the other side, and we'll switch sides. So legs straight out in front, shake it loose. Hug that left knee in. Cross that left foot over, that foot stays planted, right? Maybe you'll opt to lean a little bit to the right and fold that right leg underneath you. Both sit bones planted. Right? If that feels accessible to you, you could stay there. If you get there and you're like, not happening for me, please extend that right leg long underneath the body. So this time we're twisting to the left with a nice tall spine. Twisting to the left, hugging onto the knee. Right, so you're twisting to the left. With a nice tall spine, taking a peek over that left shoulder. Breath in, breath out. Good, and releasing back to center. And as you are ready, just coming to lie on the back. Coming to lie on the back. getting everything you need for the, the final portion of our class. So if you're somebody who gets cold and all of that, you can put on your layers. We're not going to Shavasana quite yet, but you can kind of get ready for that. Coming to lie on the back. I'm going to rest my hands on my hip points with the knees bent and the feet planted, and I'll take a couple pelvic tilts here. So lifting that belly button up off the earth and then pressing the belly button down. It's a very subtle movement. Inhaling to lift that belly button up and exhaling to press the low back down into the earth. So I'm effectively accentuating and erasing the lumbar curve as I move back and forth. Tilt the bowl forward, tilt the bowl back. And then I'll bring my arms out to the sides, walk my feet over to the edges of my mat, and just allow the knees to drift back and forth, side to side. Both knees going to one side and then the other side. That's kind of loosening up. And if this feels really good to you and you want to experience a deeper stretch here, you could hold the knees to one side. And holding the knees, say for example to the right, I could place my right ankle on top of my left knee and I get a really big stretch when I do that. If that might not be accessible to you for whatever reason, you just keep both feet on the earth and breathing into that top hip. And if you've done that and you want to experience it on the other side, both feet come down, maybe over to the left, and we bring that left ankle on top of the right knee. And then I'll come back and hug both knees into the chest. I might rock a little bit and feel the sacrum, feel the edges of my pelvis. Grab onto the back of both thighs and push the feet up towards the ceiling. With the feet up towards the ceiling, now I'll bring my arms out to the sides with the palms facing down if that feels okay for support. And let's not forget to kind of erase that lumbar curve, right? Push that low back down. And even just doing this, I feel a lot of work happening in my core. If you want to add more, you could bring your feet over to the left, just like 11 o'clock on the dial. And we're going to move over to 1 o'clock, bringing the feet to the right. Just traveling back and forth. We're calling this tick-tock legs. You might begin to go a little bit farther, but always kind of keeping that engagement with the core and with the breath. I like to inhale to center and then exhale, twist a little bit. You can always do this with the knees bent if this feels like too much. Right? The knees bent, perfectly great way to do this. Maybe you go a little farther. And someday I'd like to be able to touch all the way down, but I'm so not there yet. Taking maybe one more tick-tock leg on each side. And then as you're ready, just hugging those knees into the chest. Rocking a little bit from side to side. We'll then push both feet down, getting ready for our bridge pose. Both feet down. If you like, you can squeeze a block between the thighs. That sometimes really helps me with the alignment here so that my feet stay about hips width distance apart. And I have a little extra challenge of engagement. Bringing my arms into robot arms by the sides of the body, pushing the upper arms into the earth, lifting the chest. And then I'll lift the hips up, never turning my head from side to side, right? Always looking straight down the nose. And if you have another way you like to practice bridge, you can do that. Sometimes If you can easily interlace the fingers under the body and straighten the arms, that's a possibility. But if you can't easily straighten the arms, robot arms is a great way to do bridge. And I'm just finding my breath here, and I might walk my heels a little closer to the body, get a little higher. You could lift all those toes up, press just the big toe down, lift all 10 toes, press the pinky toe down, big breath in, all 10 toes, exhale, big toe down, inhale, all 10 toes, exhale, pinky toe down, and then pressing all 10 toes down, I'm going to lift my arms overhead and slowly release my body down. Releasing the block to the side when you get there. I'll cross my right ankle over my left knee. Cross my right ankle over my left knee. And reaching up through the window of the legs to grab onto the left leg. Sometimes the floor can feel a little far away here, so you might like a little neck support. And I'm going to squeeze that leg in, and I'm going to keep that right foot flexed to protect the knee joint. Big breath in. You feel this, you can kind of move around in this and feel more, feel less, or you could be up on the tiptoe of that left foot if this feels like too much. Looks like you've been working on this one, Deb. Releasing that left foot down, I'll cross the knee all the way over. So the knees nestle, and I'll drop both knees over to the left side. Okay, so you got your knees nestling together. Yeah, that's good. And I'm going to keep my right shoulder on the earth. So we're looking for a gentle spinal twist. It's not so important, so much about how far my knees go as it is about keeping that shoulder down. And if it feels awkward to have the knee hanging out there in space, you can just slide a block right underneath that knee. Maybe you can begin to let go a little bit again. Maybe not work so hard. You allow yourself this opportunity to check in with the breath. Slowly releasing back to center. We'll come into figure 4 on the other side. So crossing that left ankle. Cross that left ankle over the right knee. Reach up through the window of your legs and hug it in. Flex the left foot to protect the knee joint. And then work within your sensation here, breathing into it, moving around a little bit, noticing if the side feels different for you. Yeah, that's good, Judy B. Little foot action, never hurt anybody, right? A little foot dance. And then we'll release that right foot down and cross the knee all the way over so the knees nestle. And just slowly guiding the knees over towards the right, but keeping the left shoulder down on the earth. And if it's needed, maybe sliding a block underneath that knee on the right side. And just hanging out here for a couple breaths. Just allowing yourself this opportunity to do nothing. Let the breath and gravity do all the work. Slow release back to center. And we'll hug the knees into the chest. And I give a couple options here. You could go straight to Shavasana. You could explore legs up a chair or couch or bed, depending on where you are in your house. Right? So for me, you could just scoot right to the edge of my chair and prop those legs up. Get myself a little neck support. Right, and this might be my Shavasana today. Right, maybe you like the traditional Shavasana and you grab on to some support for the neck, for the knees, whatever feels good to you today. Allowing the head to rest, allowing the arms to rest at the sides, palms facing up. Just finding your version of this relaxation pose. And slowly beginning to let go, knowing that if you're in the legs up, the chair pose, you can transition to Shavasana at any time. So allowing the body this opportunity to rest, integrate all of the poses, allow the blood to flow through the body at least once, circulating through the body at least once, maybe twice. Just lying on the back and giving yourself permission to do absolutely nothing. Letting go of the hands, the arms, the shoulders. Letting the feet be heavy, the knees and the hips. Feeling the support underneath the back all the way up the spine to the base of the head. Allowing all the muscles in the face to become smooth and relaxed. Just draining of any expression. And then completely letting go of everything for just a minute longer. Of course, you're welcome to stay here as long as you like. If you're ready to begin coming out of your final pose, you might take a breath in through the nostrils, sigh it out the mouth. Wiggle fingers and toes. Stretch arms overhead. Luxuriously roll onto one side. Give yourself a little hug. And then coming up to sit and joining me in a tall spine. So we bring hands together at heart center. May all beings everywhere be free from suffering, able to find joy, health, and happiness. And may my actions, thoughts, and words in some way contribute to that. Thank you so much for your practice today. We'll take a big breath in for our final Om. Inhaling for Om. Namaste. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day.